LGBT individuals are forced to keep in silence because of the fear of being persecuted?
It's an interesting thing how oppression works, because oppression works in, people saying something so that you grow up with this fear. So there's the outside pressure plus the internal pressure. So there's internal heterosexism or homophobia, internalized homophobia that we kind of grown up with. So even though the outside environment, we can perceive the outside environment to be oppressive, even when it's not sometimes. And so that's how that kind of works. So it's like this push-pull kind of thing, and yeah, it's, I don't know. I think that's a hard question to answer. Because a lot of people live in silence because of the fear. It's the fear of the unknown that keeps people in silence. Because when you come out to your friends, then you know what they're gonna say, and sometimes they can be supportive, and a lot of times, there's a lot more positive stories coming out where friends are like, "Oh yeah, I knew a long time ago. Like, why didn't you tell me?" Like, or you could have told me a long time ago and it would have been fine. And there are other instances where that's not okay. So it's like, it's really, kind of feeling out people and learning how to do that. And a lot of that silence comes from not knowing other people in the community and having advice on how to deal with that. Because there are ways that you can kind of test the environment to see if they're going to be friendly or not sometimes. But that silence of dividing people, that's why it's so important to have like centers so that people can find each other and find community so that they can learn from other people. Because when you're stuck on your own, you think that you're the only person going through that experience. But when you talk to other people, you learn that that's not true. Like even like people who are going through like, just like other like, depression, people who have depression, they think that they're the only people going through that. But if they go to a group and they find other people who are depressed, they'll find that they're going through a lot of the same things. And so it's that, support in numbers is very important.
Did you have these kind of centers for LGBT individuals when you were growing up, or when you were in college, or when did you first discover these?
Yeah, no, that was part of the problem. I think for me is that the places that I've been to, it only had clubs. So at SJSU there was a club, and I ended up running that for a year. At CSU Stanislaus there was a club, and I ran that for a year. And then I went to Sacramento State, and same thing, ran the club. It actually had kind of gone defunct, and then so I restarted it again. But there was a community center. And the community center, I kind of participated, but it's like, you don't even necessarily have to participate in it, but it's just knowing that it's there. So if something happens, you can go somewhere and there will be community. So I knew that if something didn't work out at the university, then I would always, have that to kind of fall back on. Excuse me. What made Sacramento State different was the amount of support and the amount of out queer people in leadership positions on that campus is what really made the difference. When I walked into the equivalent of student involvement here, I went in and said I wanted to charter, the queer club on campus, and they're like, "Oh, that's great! Like we've been waiting for somebody to start that club up." Like that kind of reception from the people was amazing. Now I did get that at the other places, but it was more from a place of like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like because there's somebody supporting that group. But at Sacramento State it was different because then I was introduced to the supervisor who like ran student involvement there, who then came out to me and said and gave me a whole history of like queer history and activism that had happened on that campus. So it wasn't just like I was alone. It was like this had been a continuing thing throughout this campus's history, and it's being passed on to you.
What are some stereotypes that you've heard about LGBT individuals, and why do you think these stereotypes are made?
Well, like with all stereotypes, there's like, not all stereotypes, there's like, some stereotypes that have like certain ounces of truth, but usually they're like the extremes of communities. So it's whatever the media picks out and like makes attention on, you know. So most people like are, you know, your kind of average everyday like random person, because I won't use the word normal, because like who really is normal? Like nobody's normal, right? We all have our own individual quirks. But there's definitely like, you know, people that are more out there that are, you know, that are, you know, people see them and they're like, oh, well that's that one group. But really it's only like, you know, a really like, you know, small microcosm with, you know, or not microcosm, but a small segment within, you know, the larger community. And that's not to say that they're not, you know, a valued part of the community. That's just to say that's a group that larger society will either fear or make fun of because they don't conform. And so that's really unfortunate, because stereotypes hurt because they make people think that everybody is a certain way, when that's not really the case. And I think what has happened with, you know, especially with Prop 8, the campaign that the queer community really tried to run was you know, come out to your neighbors, come out to your friends and family, because they need to know who we are and not what, you know, these other commercials or like the media is saying who we are. Because really we're people that you've grown up with or that you've known all your lives, but we've never just felt comfortable to come out to you because, you know, either one, it's internalized homophobia, or you said something that makes us feel like you're unsafe. But now's the time to come out because, you know, you need to know.
I'm gonna stop the interview because
Okay.
my partner.
Are they outside?
I think so.